So here's the thing. I love pampering myself. Face masks? Yes. Cucumbers on the eyes? Iconic. Spa day? Let's go, baby. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I paid money to get lightly sautéed in a fancy room filled with whale noises and lies. It all started on a Wednesday. Work was stressful. My inbox had 71 unread emails, and I cried over a poorly sliced avocado. So I decide, I deserve peace. I go online and book a massage at a local spa with 5 stars and 0 red flags. The only slot available? Hot stone therapy. I think, ooh, sounds warm and healing, like being hugged by the earth. Wrong. I arrive. The spa smells like eucalyptus and expensive silence. A woman in linen takes me to a room and whispers, "Undress and lay face down. Breathe deeply." Very normal. Very ASMR. I do as told. I'm lying there in my little towel cocoon, feeling cute, calm, and ready to ascend. Then, Svetlana enters. That's not a joke. Her name was actually Svetlana, and she had the calm intensity of a Bond villain who owns a crystal shop. She starts placing the stones. Now listen, I thought they'd be warm, cozy. But these things were scalding, like pulled from the center of a volcano hot. Like, did you microwave these in Satan's air fryer hot? She puts one directly on my lower back, and I flinch so hard I almost levitate off the table. But do I say anything? Of course not, because I am a people-pleasing coward who doesn't want to offend the woman actively broiling me. So I just lay there, sweating, mouth open in the face cradle, tears forming, silently debating whether this is a spot treatment or a slow roast. Svetlana whispers, "Do you feel the tension leaving?" And I want to say, "No, ma'am, I feel my flesh detaching." At one point, a stone slides down my spine, hits the edge of my towel, and burns my butt cheek. I make a noise that sounds like a haunted squirrel. She just says, "Let go of resistance." Girl, I let go of my dignity 10 minutes ago. After what feels like 47 years, she gently removes the last stone, pats me on the shoulder, and says, "All done. You did well." Like I just completed Navy SEAL training. I wobble out of the room, red, sweating, and smelling like a burnt essential oil candle. The receptionist goes, "Did you enjoy your treatment?" And I just say, "Yes, I feel very cooked." Moral of the story, read the fine print. Ask questions before someone starts lava stoning your spine, and never trust something described as deeply detoxifying. Anyway, I'm Lexi. And if you ever saw a woman limping out of a spa like she just escaped a volcano sacrifice, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's your worst self-care disaster? Facial peel gone rogue, DIY waxing, salt scrub regret? Let's scream into a lavender pillow together, babe. Love you, mean it, Lexi out. So, I don't know who needs to hear this, but if your stomach ever makes a noise like a demonic blender, don't ignore it. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I almost had a public digestive emergency in a car, in traffic, in white pants, aka nature's cruelest combo. Let's begin. It was a normal afternoon. I was running errands, I had just eaten a large iced coffee and what I thought was a clean protein bar. Spoiler, it was not clean. It was chaos disguised as chocolate. I'm driving, minding my business, when it hits me. A tiny cramp.
I shift in my seat. Tell myself, it's fine. You're strong. You have control. But then my stomach goes, grrr, grrr, and I realize this is not a drill. This is not a test. This is intestinal DEFCON 1. I look around. I'm on a major road. No bathroom in sight. Traffic is stopped. I try to breathe. Deep yoga breathing. Except now I'm sweating, like lower back danger sweating. I start chanting to myself. You are not going to poop your car. You are a grown woman. This is not how you die. Then comes the pressure, like a bowling ball trying to escape. I unbutton my jeans slightly. Yes, in traffic. I look like I'm about to give birth to a demon. Finally, I spot it. A gas station, 1.4 blocks ahead. I throw on my hazard lights. I swerve like I'm in Fast and Furious digestive drift. I pull in, park sideways, and waddle inside. The bathroom door? Locked. Of course. I ask the cashier, can I get the bathroom key? He looks me dead in the eyes, reaches under the counter, and hands me a giant spoon. A ladle with a key duct taped to it. I whisper, why a spoon? He says, so people bring it back. I don't have time for spoon logic. I sprint to the door, unlock it, fling myself inside like I'm diving for cover in a war movie, and sit down with seconds to spare. I don't even remember most of what happened next. All I know is I survived. I ruined all trust I once had in protein bars, and I now never leave home without emergency Imodium. Moral of the story? Your body has no loyalty. White jeans are for liars. And always ask, do I really trust this snack? Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman holding a spoon key and whispering to herself in a gas station bathroom line, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's your worst public bathroom emergency story? We can cry, cringe, and carry spare pants together, babe. Love you. Mean it. Lexi out.
Okay, this story is for the girlies who've ever pretended to like sports, cars, or kombucha just to get within flirting range. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I accidentally cosplayed as a dog walker because I was too afraid to admit I didn't own a single canine. Let's begin. So, one day, my friend texts me, there's a guy at the dog park you would die for. Tattoos, good arms, and he picks up poop with grace. Obviously, I'm there in 12 minutes. Now, I don't own a dog. I've never owned a dog, but I throw on my leggings, grab an empty leash for vibes, and walk into this park like I've been there every Saturday of my life. I spot the guy. Tall, golden retriever energy. Wearing a hoodie with the sleeves rolled just enough to make me black out a little bit. I'm trying to casually position myself near him, leaning on a bench like someone who definitely has a vet on speed dial, when this older woman runs up to me, panicked. She's holding 3 leashes, all attached to chaotic fur missiles. She says, "Oh, thank God, you're the backup walker. I'm late for a facial. Pickles has IBS. Be careful." And before I can say a single syllable, she shoves the leashes into my hands and vanishes like a skincare ghost. I look down. One dog is peeing on its own foot. One is growling at a butterfly. One is literally chewing the leash it's attached to. And the hot guy is watching me. So what do? Do I explain the misunderstanding like a rational human being? Nope. I smile and start walking like this was the plan all along. Now I'm getting dragged by 3 ankle-height rage goblins while trying to look composed and flirtatious. I'm saying things like, "Easy, meatball, let's use our listening ears." "Oh my gosh, you love biting people, don't you?" The hot guy walks over. He says, "Wow, 3 dogs. That's impressive." I say, "Haha, yeah, love the dog life. So normal." Just as I think I might pull it off, Pickles decides to have IBS moment. Right in front of us. very dramatically. I panic. I reach for a bag. No bag. The bag holder on the leash is empty. I'm holding the leash of a pooping dog with no plan and a hot man watching. I blurt out, "I'm just the backup. I don't do this." He starts laughing, full belly laughing. Turns out he knew I wasn't a real dog walker. He saw the empty leash when I walked in. He goes, "Are you here for the dogs or for me?" And I, a broken, leash-burned mess, say, "Honestly, you." We go for coffee later, and yes, we bring meatball. Moral of the story? Don't fake dog ownership. Always check the poop bag supply, and sometimes chaotic honesty works better than pretending you're the dog whisperer. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman being dragged by a pug in flip-flops yelling, "Meatball, please have mercy," that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the most ridiculous thing you did to flirt? Fake a hobby, eat tofu, learn guitar? Let's confess our cringe together, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out.
Okay, listen. I love wellness. I love the idea of Pilates. Core strength? Good posture? Yes, please. Hi, I'm Lexi. And this is the story of how I tried to become strong and centered, but instead almost evaporated in a studio that felt like Satan's yoga room. Let's begin. So I'm scrolling fitness classes on this new app. Trying to better myself or whatever. I see one called Power Pilates, Detox and Sculpt. I think, ooh, sculpt sounds fun. It said, warm environment. And I was like, perfect. I get cold easily. Wrong. I walk into this class and immediately realize I have made a grave, sweaty mistake. The room is 104 degrees. I walk in wearing leggings and long sleeve because I'm an optimistic fool and instantly feel like I've been wrapped in a hot tortilla. Everyone else? Sports bras, tiny shorts, fancy water bottles, zero fear in their eyes. I sit down on my mat. My body is already leaking. I'm sweating from my knees. Who sweats from their knees? The instructor walks in. Her name is Skylar. She's glowing, not sweating, glowing. She says, "Let's tap into our inner fire. Ma'am, I am already fully aflame." We begin. Minute 1, I'm like, okay, this is fine. Minute 4, my mat is a slip and slide. Minute 6, I try to do a leg lift and accidentally fart a little. The heat betrayed me. Everyone else is still moving like Grecian statues. Meanwhile, I'm wiping sweat off my eyelids and whispering to myself, "You're doing amazing, sweetie." I'm not. Then comes the big moment. We're doing some pose called teaser twist. I twist, my elbow slips. I slide like full body sled across the mat straight into the lady next to me. She doesn't flinch. She just breathes deeply and says, "Let the universe carry you." Okay, Tina, the universe just carried me into your left thigh. At minute 20, I try to sneak out. I stand up, but my legs say, nah. I wobble. My foot slides again. I grab the wall like a baby giraffe. Skylar smiles and says, "Leaving early is still a win, babe." Translation, "You're weak, but we support you." I limp out, dripping, looking like a microwave burrito. A man in the lobby offers me a protein bar. I accept it with trembling hands and say, "Do I still get the detox?" Moral of the story? Always read the class description. Heat makes everything worse. And don't assume Pilates means gentle. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman slip slide out of a studio with mascara running down her chin like a goth river, that was me.
Tell me in the comments, what's your worst fitness fail? Fainted in Zumba? Kicked someone in spin class? Let's bond in sweat and shame. Love you, mean it, Lexi, out.
Okay, here's the thing about bookstores. They're not just for books, they're for romance. Eye contact in fiction aisles. Oops, we reached for the same book moments. Love, drama, plot twists. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I tried to pull off a casual flirt in a bookstore, but ended up physically assaulted by glittery vampire fiction. Let's begin. So I'm wandering around this cute indie bookstore holding a matcha latte and pretending I'm not just there for the vibes. I spot a guy. He's tall, messy curls, wearing a corduroy jacket and reading Kafka. Immediately suspicious, but also kind of hot in an I overthink everything way. He's in the fantasy section, so I casually migrate. I grab the nearest book off the shelf, something with dragons and flames and a title like Wrath of the Ember King, which I absolutely do not understand, but I'm committing. I lean. I angle my body like I'm the protagonist in a romantic montage. And then, disaster. I step backward, and my giant tote bag, full of snacks and unrelated receipts, hooks onto the bottom shelf display. I don't realize it, so when I shift my weight, the whole thing comes crashing down. Turns out I've just taken out an entire promotional display for a new spicy vampire romance series called Bloodbound Lovers: Eternal Desire. There are books flying, glossy red and black covers. One lands directly on my foot, another hits me in the shoulder and bounces onto the floor with a dramatic thud. I freeze. People turn, and the hot guy? He looks down, picks one up and says, "I think this one bites." No, sir, we are not doing puns at my funeral. I'm scrambling to pick them up. My face is tomato red, there's glitter on my hands. One of the books has a shirtless vampire staring into space like he just discovered moisturizer. I try to laugh it off, say, "Haha, just wanted to make a scene." He says, "Well, mission accomplished." Then he smiles, and I realize I'm still holding the vampire book, and it is very spicy. Cover tagline says, "His thirst wasn't just for blood." I place it down like it's radioactive. He goes, "So you're into fantasy?" I say, "Only the emotional kind." We actually talk for a bit. Turns out he writes fantasy short stories. I pretend I know what that means. We exchange numbers, and I leave the bookstore with bruised pride, glittery fingers, and a free bookmark someone handed me out of pity. Moral of the story: never fake read a book you can't pronounce. Tote bags are dangerous. And if you're gonna fall with drama. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman crawling out of a pile of vampire books while trying to flirt and dodge a nosebleed, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's your most embarrassing bookstore moment? Did you fall, rip a page, read a spicy scene next to a toddler? Let's turn the page on our shame together, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out. Okay, so I was having one of those days where you just need to reset your life, you know? Restock the fridge, buy real food, pretend you're a functioning adult. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I accidentally worked at a grocery store without getting paid, trained, or mentally prepared. Let's begin. I throw on a casual outfit, jeans, sneakers, red t-shirt. I didn't even brush my hair. We're in goblin mode. I walk into the store, grabbing a cart like a woman with purpose. I need toothpaste, bananas, and some kind of cheese I can feel superior about. I'm on my way to the dental aisle when this woman, full mom energy, big purse, 3 kids under 5, taps my arm and says, "Excuse me, where are the pickles?" Now, normal people would say, "Oh, sorry, I don't work here."
But my brain panics because she asked so politely, and I hate disappointing people. So instead I go, I think they're near the condiments, and point like I actually knew. She thanks me and walks away. I'm like, cool, weird, but fine. Then a man in a bucket hat appears out of nowhere, says, Miss, do you know if this brand of oat milk froths well? What do I look like, the dairy sommelier? Again, I panic. I say, it depends on the frother, honestly, which I don't even know what that means. And that's when I realize my red shirt, my entire look, I match the employees. I look around. Everyone in this store is wearing some version of red. I am an unpaid intern in disguise. I try to escape, but it's too late. A guy with a cart full of beans goes, Can you open another register? Sir, I don't even know where my car is parked. So now I'm panicking and pretending to be helpful. I'm just walking around making vague suggestions like, oh, I think that's aisle 7. Try near the frozen peas. Maybe ask Donna at seafood. There is no Donna. I made her up. At one point, I actually help someone reach the top shelf. I say, here you go. They say, thank you. You're the only helpful person here. Great. I've become Employee of the Month for a job I don't have. Finally, I grab my toothpaste, frozen pizza, and Pride. I book it to self-checkout. Someone tries to stop me for help again. I yell, I'm on break, and run. Moral of the story? Never wear the store colors. Panic turns into performance, and somewhere out there, a woman is still looking for pickles on aisle 4 because of me. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a girl giving wrong directions next to the hummus, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the weirdest time someone mistook you for an employee? Mall? Museum? Middle of a wedding? Let's trauma bond, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out.
So, the mall. A place of teen nostalgia, stale air conditioning, and the seductive smell of Auntie Anne's pretzels. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I went in for carbs and came out looking like a rejected contestant from RuPaul's Drag Race Blindfold Edition. Let's begin. It was a Saturday. I was feeling snacky, wearing an oversized hoodie and no makeup, just peak I'm invisible energy. I walk into the mall with one goal: salty, buttery pretzel. That's it. As I'm beelining toward the food court, this woman steps in front of me like she's about to hand me a lawsuit. She says, "Do you want a free makeover?" I laugh. I go, "Oh no, I'm good." She goes, "But you'd be perfect for our booth. Blade would love your face." I blink. Blade? He's our lead artist. He's visionary. Now, I should have kept walking. I should have remembered that nothing free at the mall is ever actually free. But my ego heard perfect face. So I say, okay, maybe just a little blush. Famous last words. I'm led to a tiny chair. The booth is blasting club music like it's 1 a.m. in Ibiza. Blade emerges, tall, wearing sunglasses indoors with glitter on his neck and a brush in his mouth. He looks at me like I'm a blank canvas that offended him. He goes, "Let's do something bold." And before I can ask what that means, he starts smearing metallic cream on my eyelids like he's frosting a very angry cupcake. I try to peek in a mirror. He slaps my hand away. No spoilers. Spoilers? Sir, this is not an Avengers movie. He applies what feels like 14 layers of contour, draws on eyebrows so sharp I could legally carry them as weapons, and glues false lashes so big I could probably fly away in a stiff breeze. Every time I blink, I create wind. Then he adds glitter.
Everywhere! Cheeks, temples, earlobes. At one point, I think he highlighted my neck. I look like a disco ball with anxiety. Finally, he finishes. He spins me toward a mirror. I gasp. I literally gasp. I look like a space drag queen who crash landed at Sephora mid-battle. Blade goes, "You're welcome," and walks away. I try to thank him, but my lips are stuck together from the gloss. A child walks by, tugs her mom's sleeve, and says, "Mommy, is she a princess or a witch?" Both, child. Apparently both. I buy my pretzel in full glitter regalia. The cashier doesn't blink. I go home, scrub my face for 40 minutes. Still sparkle on my pillow the next morning. Moral of the story? Don't trust free things at the mall. Never agree to bold when unprepared. And if someone named Blade wants your face, run. Anyway, I'm Lexi. And if you ever saw a woman flapping her lashes while eating a cinnamon pretzel like it was her last meal on Earth, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's your worst beauty disaster? Bad haircut? Eyebrow wax gone wrong? Glitter trauma? Let's shine and cry together, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out.
So I booked this early morning flight. You know the vibe. Sleepy, stressed, still slightly damp from a rushed shower. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I got hijacked by personal growth while just trying to get to gate 17B. Let's begin. It's 5:45 a.m. I request an Uber. Driver's name is Randu. Profile says, entrepreneur, visionary, author of Unlocking the Inner You. Red flag? Maybe, but I'm too tired to care. I just want coffee and a boarding pass. Randy pulls up in a silver Elantra with tinted windows and motivational bumper stickers like, "Your excuse is someone else's motivation. Dream big, break gently." I get in. He turns around, sunglasses on, and says, "Lexi, you ready to level up today?" Sir, it is before 6 a.m. and I have not even leveled into consciousness. I give a weak sure. We start driving. At first, it's normal. A little silence, some smooth jazz playing. Then he says, "So, what's holding you back?" I laugh nervously. He says, "No, really. What's the one thing stopping you from becoming the CEO of your own life?" I say, TSA? That does not stop him. Randy is in coach mode. He starts talking about internal resistance, limiting beliefs, and the pillar method TM, which I later learned stands for power, integrity, loyalty, leadership, accountability, results. He pulls a whiteboard from the front seat. I kid you not. A mini whiteboard. He props it on the armrest between us. Starts drawing a growth funnel and a triangle labeled You versus Fear. I am now trapped, literally, because he locks the car doors and says, "We're gonna finish this breakthrough, okay?" I say, "I have a flight to catch." He goes, "And I have a life to change." Sir, please, I just want peanuts and a middle seat. Now he's telling me how he used to sell protein powder, but pivoted into mindset coaching because the real muscles are in your brain. He winks. I scream internally. I try to text my friend, "Help, Randy is transforming me," but I have one bar and no dignity. Finally, we pull up to the airport. I'm 9 minutes late. He says, "You owe me nothing except your future." I tip him $5 out of fear. He hands me a laminated flyer that says, "Unleash with Randy, first session free." I make it to the gate sweating and emotionally exfoliated.
Still not sure what the triangle was for. Moral of the story? Always check the Uber profile. Never trust a man with acronyms before sunrise. And motivational whiteboards are not safe in moving vehicles. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman sprinting through Terminal 3 while whispering pillar method to herself, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's your weirdest rideshare moment? Spilled drink, proposal, unrequested career advice? Let's debrief like traumatized seatmates, babe. Love you. Mean it. Lexi out.
Okay, so I live in one of those cool but crumbling neighborhoods. You know, historic buildings, graffiti that's considered art, a yoga studio that used to be a meat locker. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I became a tour guide by accident, by confidence, and by complete lack of ability to say the words, "I'm not your guide." Let's begin. It's Sunday. Sunny, breezy, I'm out for a little walk. Wearing big sunglasses, flowy pants, bubble tea in hand, I am the moment. As I'm walking past the old post office, now a candle store, this group of 12 very enthusiastic, very not from here tourists approaches. The leader, a sweet older woman with a wide-brimmed hat, points at me and goes, "Ah, yes, our guide." Now, a normal person would say, "Oh, no, sorry, wrong person." But me, a chaotic extrovert with a bubble tea and a questionable moral compass, I say, "Hi, everyone, let's begin." Why did I say that? They all gather around, phones out, cameras ready. I panic. I say, "This street is, over 140 years old. Fun fact, it's never been repaved." Absolutely false. I saw them repave it last spring. Someone asks, "Was that a famous bakery?" I say, "Yes, they invented sourdough bagels here. What even is that?" I point to a crumbling brick wall. I say, "That's where local poets used to gather and share forbidden verses." They all gasp. Someone wipes a tear. One guy asks, "Is that the church from the movie?" I say, "Sure is. Many movies. So many." 0 movies. It's just a yoga studio that smells like eucalyptus and regret. I even start using tour guide body language, hand gestures, the slow pace, pausing dramatically. I say things like, "Now, if you look to your left, you'll see a pigeon named Greg. He's lived here for years." We keep walking. Someone gives me a tip, like cash. I try to say no, but they insist. I'm now 30 minutes in. I've made up history about 3 buildings, a haunted bench, and an alley that I claim was once a secret speakeasy for jazz cats. Then the real tour guide shows up. She looks confused, they look confused, I freeze. Then go, "And that concludes your preview tour. Thank you, and enjoy the official experience." And I bolt. Around the corner, clutching my bubble tea like it holds the secrets of time. Moral of the story? Confidence is terrifyingly powerful. Tourists believe anything if you say it in a calm voice. And sometimes the best stories are completely fake. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever followed a woman through a back alley while she lied about jazz cats and historical pigeons, that was me. Tell me in the comments, have you ever faked your way into something ridiculous? Free entry? Backstage pass? Pretended you worked there? Let's confess together, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out.
Okay, so farmers markets are supposed to be wholesome. Sunshine, mason jars, flirty tomatoes. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I went in for peaches and ended up in a full-blown vegetable-based showdown with a 4th grader named Travis who called me amateur. Let's begin. It's Saturday. I'm feeling earthy, so I put on a flowy sundress, bring my canvas tote bag, and head to the local farmer's market. I'm walking around, vibing with my lavender lemonade, when I hear a woman shout, "We need one more contestant!" I ignore it. I'm here for jam and flirtatious eye contact with the guy at the honey stand.
But then I feel a hand on my arm. It's a sweet older lady wearing an apron covered in carrot prints. She says, "Oh, perfect, you've got the look. Come join the fun." I panic. I say yes, not even knowing what I'm saying yes to. Suddenly, I'm standing at a table surrounded by vegetables. A sign reads, "Annual Greenfield Veggie Sculpt-Off." Excuse me? Before I can leave, someone hands me a hot glue gun, a head of kale, and a sad-looking eggplant. A timer starts, and I realize this is real. I look to my left. A child, clearly a seasoned competitor, is already carving detailed wings into a butternut squash. He looks at me and says, "You're gonna need more than vibes, lady." Okay, Travis, calm down. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just start gluing stuff. Pineapple as a head, carrot arms, beet eyes. I'm sweating. Someone yells, 5 minutes! Travis is now sculpting a turtle made entirely of cucumbers. I am fighting for my life with kale that won't stick. The judge walks by and goes, "Interesting. Is this a political piece?" I say, "Yes, it's called Let Us Pray." She nods solemnly. I don't know what I just said. Time's up. The kids are showing off their produce Picasso masterpieces. One girl made a violin out of celery. A dude made the Eiffel Tower out of asparagus. Mine looks like a salad had a mental breakdown. The judge gives me a most expressive use of leafy greens ribbon, probably out of pity. Travis gets a trophy. He gives me a thumbs up and says, "Not bad for a beginner." Sir, I pay taxes. I leave the market, sticky, confused, and emotionally damaged by vegetables. Also, I forgot to buy peaches. Moral of the story? Never say yes at farmers markets. Kale is not a reliable construction material. And Travis is absolutely going to grow up to host a competitive baking show. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman hot gluing lettuce to a pineapple while whispering, "This is fine," through gritted teeth, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the weirdest thing you've ever accidentally entered? A contest? A wedding? Someone else's therapy session? Let's bond over chaotic participation trophies, babe. Love you, mean it, Lexi out. Okay, so sometimes when I can't sleep, I online shop. You know, just harmless scrolling, looking at things I don't need, like disco-themed waffle makers or giant inflatable flamingos. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I accidentally bought a haunted ferret with aristocratic energy, and now I don't trust my internet connection after midnight. Let's begin. It's 2:07 a.m. I'm in bed, wearing a face mask, scrolling through this weird little vintage site. The kind of place that sells old spoons, expired perfume, and lightly used wigs. I see a listing. Victorian taxidermy ferret in tailcoat. Rare find. It's terrifying. It's fascinating. It's only $14. I click to zoom in on the photos. That's when things go horribly wrong. Apparently, this listing is part of a live auction, and I just placed a bid. There's no, "Are you sure?" No, "Do you really want this possessed rodent in a hat?" Just a ping, a screen flash, and a message that says, "You're winning." Winning? I didn't even enter. I try to back out, but the chat is going wild. New bidder! Lexi's in the game! Someone named Dennis the Dagger 88 types, "Let her have it. She wants it more." Sir, I do not. I simply wanted to zoom. 30 seconds later, a bell dings. I've won. Mr. Snuffles III is now legally mine. I scream into my pillow, try to cancel. Too late. They already sent me a tracking number and a certificate of authenticity with wax seal. It says, He once belonged to an eccentric duchess. 3 days later, a box arrives. Inside is a fully taxidermied ferret wearing a velvet coat, a monocle, and what appears to be, judgment? I place him on my bookshelf out of fear and respect. My cat refuses to enter the room now. To this day, guests come over and ask, "Is that alive?" And I say, emotionally, yes. I Googled his origin, found nothing except a forum post that said, "Beware the one-eyed ferret. He chooses you." Cool. Moral of the story, never online shop when sleepy. Always know where your cursor is, and vintage ferrets don't come with return policies. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman holding a monocled ferret while whispering, "I didn't ask for this," that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the weirdest thing you've ever bought by accident? Wrong click, wrong address, wrong life choices. Let's cry and laugh into our shipping confirmations, babe. Love you, mean it, Lexi out.
Okay, so I had these shoes, cute in the box, criminal on my feet. You know the kind that looks pincher chic but feels like 2 bricks stapled to your ankles? Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I went to make a return and ended up doing choreography I did not consent to with strangers in a food court. Let's begin. It's a Tuesday, mid-afternoon. Mall's pretty empty. I'm just trying to return these medieval torture heels. I walk past the big open atrium near the fountain, and I hear music. Loud. Like Beyoncé loud. I peek in, thinking it's a performance. Nope. It's a group of 20-ish people, all spaced out, learning dance moves. Someone yells, "Again from the top, 5, 6, 7, 8." I try to sneak around them quietly, but this woman, clipboard, headset, dancer energy, spots me. She goes, "You're late. We're just getting started." Now, I could have said, "Oh no, I'm not in this." But my anxiety said, "We don't like confrontation, so I guess we're a dancer now." She throws me into formation, hands me a branded water bottle, says, "We're opening with Crazy in Love, then transitioning into Run the World. Keep up." Ma'am, I can barely walk in a straight line. The music starts, everyone starts moving like backup dancers at the Super Bowl, and I'm just in the back, holding my return receipt, trying not to body roll into a ficus. People are counting out loud, there's clapping. A guy in joggers tells me, "Feel the beat, not your brain." Okay, sir. I try to follow along. There's some arm stuff, a hip cop, then a dramatic spin that lands me directly in front of the Jamba Juice. I yell, "Am I nailing it?" Or someone shouts, "You've got the spirit." Do I? Or is that fear sweat? I'm now 15 minutes into full flash mob choreo. A little girl walks by and claps. I panic curtsy. Then they say, "Let's run at once with full energy." Full energy? Babe, I didn't stretch. I do my best. I fling my arms. I pop my hips. I accidentally knock over a cone of cinnamon pretzels. Finally, the music cuts. Everyone cheers. I pretend to high-five someone, then power walk toward the exit like my life depends on it. I never return the shoes. They're still in my closet. They're now cursed. Moral of the story, always say, "I'm not in this," louder. Flash mobs are not extinct. They're lurking. And fear can unlock surprising rhythm. Anyway, I'm Lexi. And if you ever saw a woman dancing with desperation and a Nordstrom bag under one arm, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the weirdest thing you've ever gotten dragged into by accident? A parade, a wedding rehearsal, someone else's protest? Let's overshare and cope with jazz hands, babe. Love you, mean it, Lexi out. Okay, so flea markets. Beautiful chaos.
You walk in wanting nothing and leave with a ceramic frog, 3 mismatched mugs, and a pair of pants that may or may not be cursed. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I accidentally stole from French revolutionaries. Kinda, sorta. Let's begin. It's a Sunday. Breezy. There's music playing somewhere, maybe a banjo. I'm walking through this charming little flea market full of hipsters, old ladies, and booths that smell like nostalgia and essential oils. I see a table covered in random accessories, scarves, brooches, weird hats, and in the middle is this gorgeous little purse. It's velvet, it has hand-stitched flowers, it looks like it holds secrets and forbidden letters. The seller? A guy who looks like he's auditioning for Pirates of the Caribbean 12, Etsy Boogaloo. He says, $5, cash only. Done. I buy it, throw my phone in it, walk away feeling mysterious and French. Fast forward 20 minutes. I'm in line at the coffee truck. Suddenly, I hear this dramatic, booming voice shout, "Stop her!" I freeze, because obviously it's about me. My main character senses tingle. I turn around, and I see a man in full costume, top hat, cape, tiny round glasses, storming toward me like he's chasing a criminal through 1830s Paris. He points at my purse and bellows, "That's Cosette's!" I blink. He continues, "That is a prop from Act 2, Scene 4. We've been searching for it since Loden." At this point, everyone is staring. I panic and blurt out, "I paid $5. It's mine legally." He's now joined by a woman dressed like a sad French orphan who says, "It went missing during Thursday's rehearsal. That's our Les Mis purse." Now, what I should have done is calmly return it. What I did was try to defend myself using zero logic and a lot of hand gestures. Eventually, a lady with a clipboard comes over. She's the stage manager. Very intense, very tired. She confirms the purse belongs to their production. It apparently went missing when one of the actors took it for a TikTok and forgot. They offered me 2 free tickets in exchange. I accepted, because if I'm going to be accused of theatrical theft, I want to see how it ends. Moral of the story: always ask where vintage things come from. Don't mess with theater kids. And sometimes your aesthetic choices come with plot twists. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman being publicly shamed by a man in a cape over a velvet purse named Cosette, that was me. Tell me in the comments, have you ever accidentally stolen something? Borrowed? Adopted? Misunderstood a free sign? Let's atone with awkward honesty, babe. Love you. Mean it. Lexi out.
Okay, so I get this text from my friend saying, "Party starts at 6, bring wine, Unit 4B. Cool, I'm excited. I put on something casual but cute, grab a bottle of overpriced rosé, hop in an Uber, and feel like a functioning adult for once. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I accidentally became the surprise guest at an elderly woman's birthday and emotionally bonded with a man named Leonard over potato salad. Let's begin. I get to the building, walk confidently to 4B. Door is wide open, music playing, laughter. Smells like casserole and cinnamon. So far, so warm and friendly. I walk in and yell, "Hey, I brought wine!" Immediately, this woman in a floral blouse hugs me and says, "You must be Clara's friend." I pause, internally screaming, externally smiling. I go, "Of course I am." Mistake number 1. Someone takes the wine. Someone else hands me a plate. There are meatballs. There is deviled egg variety. There is bingo being set up. At this point, I should leave. Instead, I sit next to a woman named Beverly, who tells me about her bunion surgery and how I remind her of her niece, but taller. Then the guest of honor arrives. Grandma turns 82. Adorable, covered in sparkles.
She sees me and says, "Oh, Clara told me about you. You're the yoga one, right?" I say, "Absolutely. Haven't stretched since 2018. Next thing I know, I'm singing Happy Birthday. I'm holding a slice of sheet cake, and Grandma is squeezing my hand, saying, "You have a lovely spirit and good posture." The guilt is starting to eat at me. But also the dip is phenomenal. Finally, I get a text from my actual friend. "Hey, where are you? We're all in 4B. I freeze. I look up. I'm in 4D. I have been crashing a stranger's grandma's party for over 45 minutes, and not one single person questioned me. I grab my purse, say, "I just remembered I left my plants on," and sprint to the hallway. On my way out, Grandma says, "Come back next year, sweetie. Bring that posture." Moral of the story? Always double-check the door. Say no to deviled egg peer pressure, and never underestimate how far a confident "hey" will get you. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman being blessed by a stranger's grandmother while holding rosé she didn't mean to give away, that was me. Tell me in the comments, have you ever walked into the wrong place and just committed? Wrong class, wrong Zoom call, wrong wedding? Let's confess and cry laugh, babe. Love you, mean it, Lexi out. Okay, so bookstores are supposed to be safe, quiet, cozy, no chaos, just you, overpriced coffee, and books you pretend you're going to finish. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I opened my big mouth and insulted a woman's entire life experience in front of 6 strangers and a tray of lemon squares. Let's begin. It's Thursday. I'm walking through my favorite local bookstore/cafe. They've got that I'm a quirky small business vibe. String lights, mismatched chairs, a shelf dedicated to books about moss. I see a sign near a group of people sitting at a table. Weekly book discussion. All welcome. Cool! I've read books. I love opinions. I walk over to browse near them. Someone asks, "Hey, did you read it?" I say, "Kind of. Skimmed most of it online." They smile and say, "Perfect! What did you think of the ending?" Now, here's where it went wrong. See, the book had this dramatic cover. A shadowy figure, a dripping rose, a vague title like Beneath the Darkness. So I assumed it was vampire fiction. You know, broody, immortal man, forbidden love, emotionally damaged teenagers. So I go full sass. I say, "Honestly, it dragged. Like, we get it. You're mysterious and heartbroken. Move on." Also, the whole abandoned at the bus station scene, a little cliche. Silence. Utter silence. I glance up. Everyone's staring at me, except one woman who is blinking very hard. The lemon square lady next to me goes, "That scene was real. That happened to her." I freeze. I look to my left. The blinking woman raises her hand and says softly, "Hi, I'm the author." My soul left my body. Apparently, Beneath the Darkness was not a paranormal romance. It was her memoir about growing up in foster care, overcoming addiction, and rebuilding her life. And I just called it cliché bus station fan fiction. I try to backpedal. I say, the writing was super descriptive, emotional, raw. She says, "You said it felt made up." I say, "In a relatable way?" Someone offers me a lemon square out of pity. I take 3 and just chew quietly
questioning every life choice. I stay for the rest of the meeting out of shame. At the end, the author says, "Thank you all for your honest thoughts," and then looks directly at me. Moral of the story: always check if you're reading fiction or trauma. Don't judge a book by its vampire-y cover. And lemon squares cannot fix everything. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a woman chewing nervously while trying to apologize for comparing someone's childhood trauma to Twilight, that was me. Tell me in the comments, have you ever put your foot in your mouth so hard it came out your back? Said something awkward, misunderstood the entire room? Let's cry laugh together, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out.
Okay, let's start with this. I have a complicated relationship with fire. I love candles, I'm terrified of matches, and I once melted a hairbrush by leaving it too close to my straightener. So, hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I tried to have a sexy fondue moment and instead gave the table a literal glow-up. Let's begin. So, I'm on this date, right? Cute guy, great smile, knows the difference between your and you're a unicorn. He takes me to this fancy little restaurant. Dim lighting, expensive menu, the kind of place where water comes in a bottle and everyone speaks in hushed tones. Everything's going fine. We eat actual food. I'm making jokes. He's laughing. There's eye contact. We're killing it. Then comes the final boss, the fondue. It arrives in this elegant little setup. Tiny pot of melted chocolate, tiny skewers, tiny flame underneath. Cute, right? I'm excited. I grab a strawberry, I go in for the dip, I lean over, and whoosh. My cloth napkin brushes over the flame and immediately ignites. Now, listen, I didn't even know fire could move that fast. 1 second, I'm being flirty. The next, I'm fanning a mini inferno with a cocktail menu while yelling, "It's fine! It's controlled!" It is not controlled. A nearby waiter yells, "Oh no!" Then he slaps the table with the dessert menu like he's auditioning for Top Chef Firefighter Edition. Meanwhile, I'm holding the skewer like it's a weapon, my hair definitely smells like toasted regret, and my date is just blinking slowly like, is this a bit? Is she doing a bit? Finally, the fire dies. The napkin is toast. My dignity, charred. The manager comes over. I apologize. He says, "It happens more than you think." Which, sir, how often? They comp our dessert. I leave a large tip. I also leave with one eyebrow slightly shorter than the other. Moral of the story? Don't flirt with fondue. Linen napkins are out for blood. And maybe just order the brownie next time. Anyway, I'm Lexi. And if you ever saw a woman dramatically extinguishing a flame while holding a strawberry and whispering, "It was supposed to be romantic," that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the most chaotic thing you've ever done on a date? Food fail? Wardrobe malfunction? Small fire? Let's scream and laugh about it together, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi, out. Okay, so my friend texts me like, "Hey, can you babysit for 2 hours? Easy kid, you'll love her." I say yes, because I'm responsible, because I like toddlers, because I wanted free snacks and a break from adulting. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I got locked out by a 2-year-old who then proceeded to negotiate with me like a tiny landlord. Let's begin. So I arrive at their place, adorable apartment, even more adorable toddler, let's call her Maya. She's got pigtails and sticky hands and an air of absolute chaotic power. We play with blocks. We watch Bluey. We eat fish crackers. All good. At one point, Maya's face is covered in mysterious orange goo. I grab a paper towel and step outside for literally 5 seconds to toss it in the hallway trash bin. Click. That sound? That innocent little click? My soul leaves my body. I turn around. Door. Closed. Locked. Me. Outside. Maya. Inside. Barefoot. No phone. No keys. Just me, hallway carpet, and one sassy toddler holding a juice box like she owns the lease. I crouch down to the crack in the door and say, Maya? Sweetie, can you twist the shiny handle for me? She laughs. She laughs. Then walks away. I start knocking, politely, then slightly panicked. Eventually, she returns, holding a banana. I'm like, that's awesome, but could you please unlock the door? She takes a bite, maintains eye contact. Pure villain origin story energy. Now, I'm crouching in the hallway whispering things like, remember how we said we use our helping hands? Silver handle for silver hands, babe. There's a sticker book in it for you if I survive this. Meanwhile, people are walking by. One guy says, locked out? I say, buy a 2-year-old. He nods like this happens all the time. Eventually, after 12 minutes of negotiation, Maya walks over and jiggles the handle, accidentally unlocks it, door opens. I fall in like I've crossed the desert. Maya hands me a half-eaten banana like she just performed a rescue. Moral of the story? Never assume you're smarter than a toddler. Always bring the trash inside, and toddlers know when they have leverage. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever saw a barefoot woman whispering bribes through a crack in the door while a toddler drank juice like a mob boss, that was me. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been outsmarted by a child? Babysitting fails? Toddler trauma? Playground revenge? Let's sob and giggle together, babe. Love you. Mean it. Lexi, out.
Okay, let me set the scene. It's hot, like sweating through your soul hot. I'm road tripping solo, singing along to Beyoncé, and craving a Diet Coke. Hi, I'm Lexi, and this is the story of how I became a low-level jingle icon against my will and with zero musical talent. Let's begin. I pull into this random gas station. You know the type. One pump doesn't work, the snacks section is suspiciously candle-heavy, and there's a weird event tent out front. I don't think much of it. I just want my cold drink and a bag of spicy chips. As I'm walking toward the door, a guy with a headset and a clipboard yells, "Are you ready to sing for savings?" I laugh because obviously he's joking. He is not. Before I know it, I'm being ushered under a tent, handed a microphone, and told, "You're our next contestant. Just make up a quick jingle about your car." And then someone goes, "And we're live in 3, 2... I black out. Suddenly, I'm holding a mic in front of a table of radio hosts wearing sunglasses indoors, and I say the first thing that comes to mind. My car is tired, my brakes are sad, but when I fill my tank, I feel less bad. I've got chips, I've got cola, my engine goes vroom. Thank you, Pump 3, for changing my gloom. Silence. Then applause? Cheering? Someone yells, "She wrapped the vroom!" I am now officially in a jingle competition. I still have no idea what's happening. They hand me a keychain and say, "Congratulations, 3rd place." 3rd place?
Who beat me? Was there choreography? I need to know. Anyway, I collect my free soda, my dignity dragging behind me like a broken muffler, and as I walk away, I hear one host whisper, "She had potential. She was raw." Moral of the story? Never make eye contact with a man holding a mic. Always say yes to the bit. And if you're gonna go down, make it vroom. Anyway, I'm Lexi, and if you ever heard someone singing about spark plugs while accidentally becoming regional jingle royalty, that was me. Tell me in the comments, what's the weirdest thing you've been pulled into in public? A promotion, a talent show gone wrong? Let's spiral and laugh about it, babe. Love you, mean it. Lexi out.